Fool that I was, hedonist that I become, was engaged in a threesome with a dance troupe called the Satanic Sluts. Now, I'm not proud of it, and I should have known from the name of the Satanic Sluts that there could have been problems, but I had other priorities in those days. I want to talk to you about my long history with the BBC. A story that involves a plucky boy with dreams, a boy that hadn't yet married Katy Perry, a boy that hadn't yet risen to the giddy heights of A-list stardom, nor tumbled to the depths of conspiracy theory. I'm going to talk about the BBC and what it's like to have state-funded media that bring you your favourite sitcoms. Imagine if the state had bought you The American Office and Parks and Rec and The Simpsons. Imagine if state-funded media bought you your favourite NFL games, and imagine if they were in control of your news. That's the BBC. I can't tell you how much affection people feel for the BBC. They call her Auntie. That's the name, the colloquial name for the BBC. I'm going to watch it over on Auntie. That's what people say. You're meant to see it as Auntie. She's all cookies, ain't she? She's all cookies and kindness. Well, it turns out that there's more to the BBC than that. They've been caught bang to rights, lying about Donald Trump. And of course, as we predicted when this story broke, it was just one bad apple, one individual, just a mistake, not an institutional bias, not a system upon which we rely to direct the intelligence, consciousness and awareness of our audience. No, it couldn't be that, could it? Let's have a look at the resignation of BBC CEO Deborah Turness, as well as unpacking this story. I've got a deep past with the BBC, a deep history with the BBC, and I'm invested in this story because the very memo that revealed the depths of this deception showed that at the time that I was falsely accused of sexual misconduct, the BBC were pushing that story. Let me know in the comments and chat why that would be. At a time when most people were interested in a migration crisis, when most people were interested in the despair across the UK, this story was being pushed at 4 times the rate of migration stories. Let's have a look at BBC CEO Deborah Turness, who, even though nothing bad has happened, has resigned, saying that the BBC do not have institutional bias.
I would like to say it has been the privilege of my career to serve as the CEO of BBC News and to work with our brilliant team of journalists. I stepped down over the weekend because the buck stops with me. But I'd like to make one thing very clear. BBC News is not institutionally biased. That's why it's the world's most trusted news provider.
Not anymore, darling. Not anymore. Sorry for referring to you as darling, but guess what? I refer to men as darling. Isn't that right, darling?
It's true.
Here's the rest of the leaked memo that led to the revelations that Trump's capital speech had been misleadingly edited, presumably to make you hate Trump. Ask yourself this question, and I mean this. I'm asking you this question. Why do they want you to hate Trump? I'm not saying Trump's great or anything like that. I'm not interested in that. I believe in Jesus. But why do they want you to hate Trump? Why? Why would they? Why would they not go, he said this in the speech? Same with the vaccines. Why wouldn't they say, hey, there's this product available. If you want it, just take it. We think it might work. We can't be sure. We ain't clinically trialled it. Certainly not the booster shots. We've only given it to 8 mice and they don't look very fucking well. Why wouldn't they just tell you the truth? That's an agenda. Lying always reveals an agenda. Always. Always. This is the devastating memo that plunged the old BBC. As you can see, they're plunged. That means they've gone down into a crisis. But they were already in that crisis. All it is a revelation of previously concealed data. The Telegraph has published the internal dossier that plunged the BBC into crisis. The document, written by someone who's a journalist, they claim, exposes a string of incidents that demonstrate serious apparent bias. They include evidence that BBC Panorama doctored a speech by Trump. Now, that's what you're all aware of. Elsewise, they've done a bunch of other stuff. Look at the stories they do. The review concluded it was significant that of 219 notifications, just 4 were about the issues of illegal migrants and asylum seekers, which is obviously an issue that's affecting a lot of people and they care about. Remember, our own beloved Joe McCann attended the patriot and nationalistic, I suppose, march in London quite recently that centred around Tommy Robinson. Look at that. For context, in the same month, the BBC sent out 12 notifications about Russell Brand. Now, look, in this memo, that's being presented as a kind of aside. Who is Russell Brand, really? I'm not talking about the mascara-wearing, prancing popinjay of a comedian of yesteryear or the bad boy comedian appearing in movies. Who's Russell Brand circa 2019, 2020, 2021? Russell Brand is a person that took his audience from mainstream entertainment and went online saying, among other things, well, be very careful about Moderna, and Pfizer and Merck and their vaccine products, that mRNA research is unreliable, that the lockdown measures are likely arbitrary. We were reporting on information coming from much more reliable sources, among them Robert Malone and Peter McCulloch and excellent people online like Brett Weinstein and people that got out ahead of it and said this COVID crisis, this pandemic is being handled very badly and very deceptively. Let me know in the comments and chat if you think there's a connection between what I was reporting on in independent media and the attacks that subsequently occurred and what appear to be coordinated efforts within media to ensure that I was regarded in a particular way. My trouble with the BBC began when I had a BBC radio show. Gosh, what year would that have been? Probably 2004, 2005, that kind of time. During that era, I was a pretty reckless guy. I was no longer on drugs. People don't know that, but I was like clean and sober and trying my best to live a good life. I was wildly promiscuous. I was just loving it. I was famous. It was fantastic. It was a Willy Wonka wonderland and I was Augustus Gloop. And you know what he did in that chocolate fountain, and believe me, I went in a few chocolate fountains myself, baby. Here I am getting into some serious trouble, and here's how the trouble began. It was an episode of my radio show, The Russell Brand Show, that was on BBC Two, government-funded radio show. At that point, I didn't know it, but I was playing the part of a hedonist that helps you to get lost in your own individualism and to see your sensuality as a kind of pagan deity. Here I am on my own show with Jonathan Ross, who's like the UK's Letterman, if you wanted to understand what Jonathan Ross represents. Have a look.
I don't blame
Andrew
you.
Sachs's... Right, oh no. What, this is Andrew Sachs's answer phone? Right, Jonathan, well, this is unconventional.
I'll blur something out.
Do you trust the government? Who's to know what they're putting in our water? Thankfully, there's a way out. Over 70% of Americans are served by water systems that have fluoride added to the supply. Yes, fluoride. The stuff in toothpaste which we spit out into the sink. Fluoride has been linked in multiple studies to cognitive damage and lower IQ scores in kids. So why do the government want us drinking it? Is it because they want to calcify the brain, make us malleable, supine and hopeless? Of course it is. The first thing I noticed with Cove Pure is the taste. This is how water's supposed to taste. Pure, clean, no aftertaste. No drilling, no plumbers, I just fill it and press a button. Ever since I started drinking Cove Pure, I can't get enough water down my stinking gullet. It's like drinking from a fire hose. And it's simple too. All you have to do is push a button and you've got delicious water at your disposal. I've started splashing this stuff on my nipples. You can choose any temperature, hot or cold. Or lukewarm. Never lukewarm. Always hot or cold. And how much you want to spend, so you're not just guessing how much you drink. Cove Pure helps you stay hydrated. So don't wait for the government to sort out pure water. Do it yourself. Head to covepure.com/brand. Right now, they're giving my viewers a special holiday discount of $250. Get it before the sale ends. That's covepure.com/brand. Splash it on your nipples if you need to. Back to the content. Andrew Sachs played the character of Manuel in the BBC's hit sitcom Fawlty Towers. He was due to come on the show as a guest. He was one of my favourite characters in the sitcom Fawlty Towers. I absolutely loved Manuel and I love Fawlty Towers. Not long before that, the broadcast of that radio show, I, fool that I was, hedonist that I become, was engaged in a threesome with a dance troupe called the Satanic Sluts. Now, I'm not proud of it, and I should have known from the name of the Satanic Sluts that there could have been problems, but I had other priorities in those days. So I, got involved, and it was all fantastic fun. Then I found out that one of the people in this, let's call it an orgy, was a young lady, a human being, and I don't want to name her because I don't embarrass her any more than I've already embarrassed her, but her grandfather was Andrew Sachs, and who plays Manuel in Fawlty Towers, and I was like, oh my God, that's so exciting. So I'd privately, and also probably on air, told Jonathan Ross that story. I told him, hey, I had a threesome the other day with a dance troupe called the Satanic Sluts. We used to say that sort of stuff on the radio all the time. In fact, people used to celebrate my promiscuity and hedonism. Let me know what you think about that in the comments and the chat. Anyway, so when Andrew Sachs was due to come on the show, I was like, oh my God, this is embarrassing, and I'm saying this on the radio. Like a week ago, I had a threesome and, with these satanic sluts and, it was pretty extraordinary. When Andrew Sachs was due to come on a phoner, when you have guests on the radio and they're just on the phone, he didn't pick up. So I was like, well, let's just leave a message on his answer phone. Now, this led to, I can't even explain to you what my scandals have been like in the UK. I can't tell you. But I'm beginning to understand now the way that media works, that you can concoct these scandals. Because even though it's bad to have a threesome and then tell the granddad of someone in that threesome that you had a threesome. I recognise that's bad. It's not as bad as probably some of the other things that were going on in the UK at that time, was it? There would have been massive corruption and probably wars and crazy funding and assassination. Well, this was the biggest story of the time, much like events in 2023, all the way up to the events of October the 7th, the Hamas and Israel conflict. The 2023 events, my most recent scandal, all over the airwaves. It was all anyone was talking about. And you can see now that the BBC was pushing it to millions of people online. Let me know in the comments and chat why that might have been. Well, way back in the early 2000s, when I was being a giddy little dickhead and promiscuous and having orgies with, the satanic sluts and stuff, I was causing a different type of trouble. Innocuous, irrelevant trouble. The kind of stuff that happens if you have a bunch of consensual sex the whole time because you're an idiot and worshipping false gods, really. Anyway, here's the rest of what led to an enormous scandal.
Don't. Not on the answer phone.
Sorry,
Jonathan.
I can't answer at the moment, but please call again or leave a message. Speak after the tone. Thank you.
So lonely.
When you've left your message, just hang up, or for more options, press 1 at any time.
Hello, Andrew Sachs. This is Russell Brand. I'm a great appreciator of your work over decades. You're going to be on my show now, mate. I don't know why you're not answering the phone. It's a bit difficult. I'm here with Jonathan Ross.
Hello, Andrew.
That's Jonathan Ross speaking now. Andrew Sachs.
Don't call him Manuel. That's really bad.
Call him
manners.
Andrew Sachs.
Oh, I apologise.
I said
Russell.
Andrew Sachs.
He's an idiot.
Look, Andrew Sachs, I've got respect for you and your lineage and progeny. Never let that be questioned.
Don't hint.
I wasn't hinting. Why did that come across as a hint?
Because you know what you're talking about.
Now, when you were
He
doing...
fucked your granddaughter.
That's his answer phone.
I'm sorry.
Even if we cut it out
I'm
of the
sorry.
show,
I'm sorry. I apologise. Andrew, I apologise.
It's still on the answer. It's on the answer phone.
Well, I can't help it. You were talking about it and it was in my head. I apologise.
Jonathan!
Now, as I joked at the time, even if we cut it out of the show, it's on the answer phone. Idiot that I was then. I insisted, leave it in the show. It's funny. And it still is kind of funny, isn't it? But it was obviously incredibly rude and ridiculous. Well, the scandal that followed was extraordinary. Now, sometimes I feel like I'm exaggerating when I tell you that I've been the centre of all these scandals that are concocted by media. But have a look at, this is the ITN News. That's a commercial rival to the BBC. Have a look at this.
Good evening. Two of the BBC's biggest stars are off the air tonight. Russell Brand has resigned and Jonathan Ross has been suspended as the corporation finally bows to growing public anger about their offensive broadcast on Radio 2. Brand said he took complete responsibility for the crude phone calls to the veteran actor Andrew Sachs. Jonathan Ross has also publicly apologised, but is that enough to save his job? The BBC's Director General said today both the stars were guilty of a gross lapse of taste. The number of complaints has now passed 27,000.
When I look back at it, I think, gosh, it was really rude and abysmal in its own way. But look at the way that it sort of played out. Primarily, it seemed to me that it was used by commercial and corporate media as a cudgel to attack the BBC that I then felt very affectionate towards and about. And gosh, I still do. I've got kind of Stockholm syndrome about the BBC because I kind of still love my captor because my captor gave me so much good content when I was a kid. Fawlty Towers, Fools and Horses, Blackadder, all these amazing artifacts, as well as Match of the Day. Or every time you watch football, it's there. It's with those kind of content creators. Admittedly now, the host of Match of the Day has been kicked off for speaking publicly about the Israel-Hamas conflict. Everything's gotten so politicised. Everything's gotten so crazy. The world is changing so much. Have a look at the rest of this news broadcast.
He was already suspended from the BBC. Tonight, Russell Brand said it would be better if he left the corporation.
I only do that radio show because I want to make people laugh and make people happy, and obviously it's gone beyond the point where I do that. Obviously I'm making people unhappy and angry and sad, so I'd like to not do that radio show anymore.
And he apologised to those he'd hurt.
It's just, I was being really silly and got caught up in the spirit of the moment, and it was certainly not my intention to hurt Andrew, a man who I very much admire, or to embarrass his granddaughter Georgina.
I'm going to do a best of them videos now where I have to go, listen, I want to just say, I'm sorry about that, I said that about the granddaughter. Sorry about this thing that was promiscuous in the past. I've never had non-consensual sex. I have to do it. I hope that's over now. Do you know why I hope it's over? Because you no longer have to deal with the brokerage of corrupt mainstream media. You can deal with your morality with God and let the government collect trash and mend potholes in roads. The government and the media shouldn't be involved in your moral and ethical life. Why? Because they have no morals and ethics. They never have had. Their insidious institutions captured, I believe, by Luciferian energy in order to trap you perpetually in self. I can unpack that for you soon. But what I want to land you on right now is don't trust the BBC. They were liars then, they're liars now. Same way as I was a promiscuous fool then, and thankfully, by the grace of Christ, I've been saved. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. And the reason I love the BBC so much is because of comedy. And the reason I regret, God rest his eternal soul, being rude to Andrew Sachs was because Andrew Sachs was funny. Check him out with the legendary genius John Cleese in 40 Towers.
Manuel? Oh. Get a clean one. It's clean now. It's dirty now.
I like the noise of the spoon on his teeth. Do you think that was legit, or do you think they did that in post? Really good, isn't it? And then check out this bit. This is a really famous bit of 40 Towers. Cleese, the genius of Python, wrote this straight after Life of Brian and obviously the Python TV series. Check this bit.
Manuel, there is too much butter on those trays.
Okay.
There is too much butter on those trays.
No, senor.
What?
Not on those trays. No, sir. Uno, dos, tres.
No. I'm mucho burro ali.
Okay?
I'm mucho burro ali.
Ah, mantequilla.
What?
Okay? Mantequilla. Burro is burro is
Manuel, por favor, momento.
Sí.
Nothing, dear, I'm just dealing with it.
He speak good, how you say?
English.
That's such beautiful clowning. That's such brilliant comedy. So for me, the BBC story is heartbreaking because I grew up watching the BBC. Part of my career was working for the BBC, and now I'm attacked by the BBC. And I know that's because the BBC is an organisation that participates in the control of public opinion. They don't want you thinking about the pandemic. They don't want you thinking about migration. They don't want you certainly thinking about Jesus and salvation. They want you trapped and divided and in despair. Let me know in the comments and chat if you think the BBC was always like that. Are we learning about things that were always true, or has a peculiar novel phenomenon emerged? Do we need to revise our entire history? Do we need to look again at everything we were told? I don't know, but one thing we know for certain is we cannot trust them now. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments and the chat. Thanks for watching the video. Have a look at this one over here, or join us Monday, Wednesday and Friday on Rumble.